Well, we've got colder air arriving, and we have some showers and thunderstorms that have delayed the start of the Yankee game. Lots of freeze warnings up from the middle Mississippi Valley and even parts of the Central Plains all the way east to the central and southern Appalachians and everybody in between. Some snow on the upper peninsula of Michigan. And we're going to take a look at the rest of the week, the weekend, and maybe take a look at some snow cover maps because I got them all up on the screen ready to go tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, our friends at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, and Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area with everything you need when it comes to making sure your home looks great, functions well, and can stand up to adverse weather and keep you protected. And don't forget, winter's coming. They are Long Island's largest provider of rock salt, and if you are not on Long Island and you need rock salt, you can go to Omni and order it there and pick it up with your gigantic truck. Also, mulch, topsoil, and, of course, the supplies you need just in case the weather takes a turn for the worse the rest of this fall and this winter. 631-756-1125, and they have the best prices anywhere. And the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. Joe, how are you on this Monday night?
Fine, thank you. And as always, all the better for your asking. How are you?
No, we're doing fine. You might want to. Well, maybe you don't have to.
What do I
might
want
my
to what?
screen has a purplish band above it, but I think that's due to the fact that we're using a new system other than
yes, we're trying
Zoom tonight.
We're trying out Microsoft Teams, and I'm kind of happy because I don't hear that occasional feedback when we're talking over each other. So that works for me. Oh, nope, there it is. I hear it now. Well, that didn't take long. So, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. Welcome to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to the entire audience of the Yankee Guardian game, waiting for the game to start. Apparently, I understand that the start time, Joe, has been pushed back because of some showers and thunderstorms.
You know, Joe, they already have lost one game. They didn't lose. I'm not saying in a win-lose state. I'm talking about the fact that one game has already been postponed or was postponed because of rain. We're in a very tempestuous weather pattern now in this middle part of October. And you would think that Major League Baseball would have made the decision after last night's game to say, okay, we have checked with all of our meteorological experts, and they are telling us that there might be a shower in the morning. And then during the midday and afternoon, there won't be any precipitation. The sun will actually break through from time to time. It will be mild. It'll be dry. It'll probably be in the upper 60s during the afternoon hours. And then come nightfall, we're going to have a new surge of rain and cooler temperatures advancing in because of the cold front passing on by. So based on that forecast, they should have said after last night's game, okay, we've decided we're going to play the game in the afternoon when it's going to be dry, when we'll have some sun, when it'll be warmer. But no, you do that, then you're going to lose quite a bit of viewership as opposed to playing the game in the evening and all of that money. So, all right. So the forecast says it's going to rain and some of it could be heavy and it's going to be much cooler. But we're going to play the game at 7:30 instead of 1 o'clock. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Major League Baseball.
And the outcome for that is a radar that looks like this. I'll get myself out of the way and we'll make it full screen here. I'm thinking, Joe, that much of this summer and fall and even going back to late last spring, we probably didn't have much in the way of squall lines. So, of course, we have to get a squall line here of downpours and thunderstorms. And it's kind of oriented in such a way where the northern part of the squall line is tilted, so that's already moved into western Connecticut, northwestern Connecticut, and western Massachusetts. The southern end is just now moving into New York City and into the Bronx, and you can see that there on the screen. Not too shabby a line of downpours and thunderstorms that are going by. I haven't seen any severe thunderstorm warnings that have come out of this so far.
Well, first, you look at this and you say to yourself, all right, you do some extrapolation and say, all right, the rain or the showers and storms are going to end at, and then you give a time frame. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Yankees and the Guardians are going to be playing very quickly after that, because what they have to do after the rain has completely come to an end is roll the top back up. Then they have to fix the field up, maybe throw some dirt on the pitcher's mound, go out into the outfield, check for, any puddling out there or whatever, and, spruce things up. So it's going to be a while. Maybe after the rain has come to an end, you're going to have to wait another 15 or 20 minutes for that. And you know what? That is the way I'm looking at this right now with that squall line moving ever so slowly in from the west. Now, just, again, arriving in the New York tri-state area, it would appear to me, Joe, that we're going to have at least another 45 minutes of rain, which means that the rain will come to an end, let's say at 8:30 or thereabouts. Or if it doesn't come to an end, at least it peters out peters out to such a way that they can actually say, okay, it's very, very light. Let's get the tarp off and try to, I don't honestly see this game beginning until 8:45 or maybe even 9 o'clock at the earliest.
I believe that I saw on the chat board, I think it might have been Steve Lapointe that put it up, that they actually have the start time as of 9:30.
Oh God. Oh dear. And they have to play this game tonight. And the reason why they have to play this game, hell or high water, is, I believe, now I may be wrong, because this is the American League and I'm not really tuned into the American as I am as much with the National League. But I believe that tomorrow the league championship series is supposed to begin with Houston playing the winner of this game tonight. So they have to play. They can't push the league championship series off for a day or so. So it has to be played.
So who's
9:30 or whatever?
Who's hosting that game?
Houston, I believe Houston, because they have they won more games than the Yankees or the Cleveland. I was going to say the Cleveland Indians, more than the Cleveland Guardians. So they will host the game tomorrow. Probably the game will be played in prime time. So is this really fair? I mean, is this really fair to the two teams that are playing tonight, that if this game does indeed not begin until like 9:30, it certainly is not going to be ending until after midnight. And then whoever wins, there's going to be the usual ballyhoo for the winner, champagne and whatever. They're not even going to be able to begin to get ready to get on a plane until probably 2 or 3 in the morning, fly down to Houston, get what little sleep that they can get, and then play a game tomorrow night, for goodness sake. And this is crazy.
Well,
thank you again, Major League Baseball.
That was why I asked the question, because, yeah, I mean, and if this goes into extra innings and it takes forever to finish the game, maybe
it'll go 18. It'll go 18 innings, like that game between Seattle and Houston on Saturday.
Well, the winner, the winning team's going to be exhausted tomorrow, so you got to think. But I just switched over to the Fort Dix radar so we can take a look. That line goes all the way down. I mean, it goes clear down into Delaware and eastern Maryland. Again, this is probably the most impressive squall line that we've seen all spring, summer, and fall. And there were a couple of stronger cells on the southern end here that went through parts of southeast PA and northern Delaware. And there you see now they've kind of moved over onto the Jersey side. And this radar, by the way, on the last frame is from 10 minutes ago. So it's 7:47, 11 minutes ago. So the last frame is 7:36. So just kind of inch it along a little bit further to the east. It's got to be raining at the stadium now. So the one upside is that the line is fairly narrow. So I mean, it should get out of the way relatively quickly, but it doesn't matter because they push the game start till 9:30 anyway.
All right, Carl. Thank you, Carl Weitz. Also, thank you for the super chat hit. and thank you for the information from David Schwartz, both of whom say the ALCS is not tomorrow. The NLCS is tomorrow, National League Championship Series. The ALCS is on Wednesday. So Carl Weitz said, so tomorrow is doable. So, yeah, if they have to cancel tonight, and maybe they should, for goodness sake, if it's going to be as bad as it probably will be for the next hour or two, they might as well just throw up their arms and say, look, we're canceling. The game is tomorrow. And P.S., please, if you cancel it and move it to tomorrow, please make it in the afternoon when the sun is out and everything. Don't make it to tomorrow night, because then they make it tomorrow night. That means that they still have to, rush through things in order to get ready and go down to Houston, whatever team wins, in time for the game on Wednesday. But tomorrow, Joe, in contrast to what we were dealt for much of today, tomorrow it looks beautiful. Well, it looks beautiful from the standpoint that we're going to have sunshine. In terms of temperature, well, unseasonably cool. Highs tomorrow in the mid-afternoon may make it up into the mid-50s. And here's another reason why I would say don't play tomorrow night. If they had to play tomorrow, don't play tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, there's a chance after midnight tomorrow night of some patchy frost. Maybe not necessarily in the city, but across the lower Hudson Valley and or outlying areas. Yeah, it's gonna get pretty darn cold tomorrow night.
In the meantime, I moved to the Albany radar, and the line is also pretty active up the Hudson Valley, right up along Route 87 and onto the Northway. You can see part of it. There's actually a split here. You've got part of it that's it went into Western Mass and Northwest Connecticut. Then there's another line that formed up along I-90 between Utica and Schenectady, and that particular line is moving up to the northeast. So a pretty busy radar view here, and might as well go to the full shot, which shows you all of the northeast and mid-Atlantic states. We actually have a few severe thunderstorm warnings up in parts of southeastern Virginia, a special marine warning there too. Also, a rather impressive rotation here around this upper low that is the strong upper trough and the surface storm that's developed with it on the east shores of Lake Huron. And you see, by the way, over Lake Superior, the snow that's forming over the lakes and driving southward into the upper peninsula of Michigan, where there are going to be places up there they're going to get a foot or more out of this. And they've got winter storm warnings up for a few counties up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. Pretty impressive system here for the middle part of October.
Yeah, it looks like a lot more like a late November or December weather pattern, at least out there. And watching one of the evening newscasts tonight, the news anchor saying 240 million people will be affected by temperatures that will be below normal, in some cases as much as 20 degrees below normal. And so considering the population of the United States is like 360 million, that means that 2/3 of the country tonight will be going to bed with temperatures, pretty darn cold for this particular time of the year.
Yeah, I have a freeze warning up and forecast low tomorrow morning here in the mountains in northeast Georgia of 28. So I took my avocado trees inside, my potted begonias went inside, and of course my carnivorous plants I already brought in back a few weeks ago. So they got first dibs on the windowsill. So that's where they're sitting with their sun lamp over it. There are some patchy showers off the Florida coast and well off the South Carolina coast, but most of the South bone dry. We've got some rain showers that have moved, cold rain showers that have moved into parts of Indiana and into northwest Ohio. And that banded look. Also, by the way, this arm of showers and storms here eventually is going to sweep up and move into Maine. And they've got flash flood watches up for the eastern half of Maine. I'll bring up the watches and warnings map tonight, and you can see there much of the eastern half of Maine under flash flood watches. Meanwhile, You see the very large area in blue. Those are from Pennsylvania, central and western Pennsylvania, across the west side of the Appalachians, going all through the middle Mississippi Valley and into the Central Plains. A large area of freeze warnings. The light blue in Alabama, rest of Alabama, Mississippi, looking at freeze watches, and they also are up for South Carolina, western half of North Carolina, and much of the interior of Virginia. Now, I suspect tomorrow we're probably going to see a variety of freeze watches or freeze warnings or whatever, but we'll have those up for the Northeast. The cold air has already come in this area, and you can see the winter storm warnings up for a few counties on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Meanwhile, the rest of the country, very quiet. This is what it looks like tonight on the satellite loop. Very impressive upper trough there, big upper low with the trough swinging around, and I got the lightning strikes. Even seeing some lightning strikes there on the loop, Joe. Especially, there's a more impressive line that's out in the ocean. Where the cold front is, and now of course you got the upper trough that's producing these showers and storms. Clouds across the deep, very far south along the Gulf Coast, and then back over into West Texas and New Mexico. The rest of the country, though, doing pretty well here in terms of dry weather.
Well, according to there's on the chat board now that we do have a report of as much as 18 inches of snow. Am I reading that correctly? Up in, I don't know how to pronounce this, Gale, Wisconsin. No, it can't be Gale, Wisconsin. I guess it's Gile, Wisconsin. They have like a foot and a half of snow already, Joe.
Yep.
Believe it or not. That's from Justin Vale. Gile, Gile, Wisconsin already has not 18, 16 inches of snow officially. So it has begun. It has already begun. All of the flaky weather has already entered the contiguous United States. Admittedly, up in the far northern tier, but it'll get here. Maybe not immediately, but it will. And hopefully by then they will have finished baseball.
Yeah, just for laughs, I'm gonna see what they have here on the digital forecast map for snowfall, and we'll load it up. It'll just take a moment. Now this is addition to whatever's on the ground, so this is on top of what's already happened on the Upper Peninsula. So it looks like there's a band. And now, why are there so few numbers? They always, hang on a second, Joe. Let me just see if I can change the density and be able to add a few numbers here. But let's make the lake water blue, dark blue, for a little contrast. And I'll widen out just a little bit. And yeah, you see that area there in the whatever color that is inside the blue. That's all 12 inches plus. And it's just away to the west of Marquette, and it's in a narrow area, coating to a few inches surrounding that, but there's that one solid area along Route 41. That's what I can see that is going to be getting the most snow out of this, and just checking to see if they've put some numbers up in Pennsylvania, which they have, for a coating to an inch or two in western Pennsylvania and parts of southwestern New York. Now, this will be more for tomorrow night into Wednesday. So it's not happening now, and it's not happening for the first part of tomorrow. So a little bit of lake effect, even into parts of southeastern Ohio. And even extending down, hey, Johnny Quest, I don't know if you're watching tonight, but maybe you might see some snow showers here where you are in the northwestern mountains of Virginia sometime later tomorrow or tomorrow night.
Now, is Erie, Pennsylvania, are they getting or they are forecasting a significant snowfall?
They
up in
have
northwestern Pennsylvania?
they have some snow indicated there, nothing more than an inch or two, maybe away from the lake shore. Because one of the things this time of year is that lake water is really warm. So I'd imagine even with a strong cold advection and a northwest wind coming in off the lake, they probably have their temperatures impacted a little bit. They'd be a little bit warmer than they otherwise would be, say, a month from now or 6 weeks from now. I could check their local forecast.
I only mention Erie, Pennsylvania, because the Chamber of Commerce of Erie, Pennsylvania, approached me to be for them the voice of the April 8th, 2024 total eclipse. The total eclipse of the sun, which is going to stretch from Texas on up into New England, goes over Erie, Pennsylvania, where they're going to see 3 minutes and 42 seconds of totality. And so somebody from the Chamber of Commerce said, hey, could you possibly record something for us that we can use in promoting the event and try to get people to come here to Erie for the eclipse? And so I'm working on that right now. And so if any of you are contemplating going to Erie, Pennsylvania in a couple of years for the eclipse, don't be surprised if you hear moi, because I'm going to apparently be all over the place in Erie, Pennsylvania in 2024.
That's quite cool, actually. You could broadcast live on the. You could broadcast from there live on the Joe and on our show here.
Well, I told them that I would be happy to do it for them, and they're going to be very happy to provide remuneration, monetary remuneration, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing it. But I told them, if you're expecting me to be in Erie, Pennsylvania for the eclipse, I'm sorry to say that's not happening, because if you've looked at the climatological data, Erie, Pennsylvania in an early April is like 70% or more cloud cover. They have like 6 clear days and 19 cloudy days, and they still are getting snow in April in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I said, unless the weather gods smile down on you, I'm not going to be there. I'll probably be somewhere else. They said, all right, we understand. We'll, So anyway, but they're even getting snow now, for goodness sake. So
they are. But I can envision the fact that now that you've turned them down, that it'll be a high overhead with a light southwest wind, and there won't be a cloud in the sky. And then you'll go to some place in Arizona or something, and there'll be a 5 or 6 contour upper low with bands of clouds and showers. We don't want that to happen, but you know how you know how luck plays.
Don't forget that in New York City on April the 6th. Now the eclipse is on the 8th, but on April the 6th in 1982, much of the Northeast was experiencing a rare April blizzard. So it can happen. It's a dicey month. It's too bad it couldn't happen, let's say, a month later. I mean, May is a heck of a lot nicer and a heck of a lot better than April. But we're still it's 18 months away. Why am I even talking about weather forecasts for 18 months from now? It'll happen. We know the eclipse is going to happen. We just don't know what kind of weather is going to happen that day.
By the way, just click your mouse on your screen somewhere. See if we can get rid of that box.
Which box?
There's a box up there that says, with a couple of commands on it. I don't think that, unless that's me. Hold on, maybe it's me.
That's
that's me.
No,
I got rid of it. Yeah. Okay, I got wind of it. All right, let's do the WPC, the rainfall forecast map for the next 7 days, and as we take a look now. Yeah, it gets a little complicated late in the weekend and early next week with some kind of coastal low that the models are, been sort of hinting at. I'm not 100% sure, exactly, what to make of it yet. But the 7-day rainfall forecasts, and that accounts for all these weather systems running around. You see, you've got a lot of precip off the East Coast, then dry. Then from the Great Lakes and the Western Lakes, southwest of the Mississippi, showing anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to some patchy areas of 3/4 of an inch plus. Then it lightens up a bit to the west of that. Then you get into the Rockies and into the Southwest, and you've got patches of 3/4 of an inch to an inch or so, and even heavier precip up in the Dakotas, and some rather hefty precip moving into Washington and Oregon as the Pacific Northwest. They have their own machine of moisture that comes in off the Pacific, and it looks like that's going to start to get underway. Now, I just want to just quickly go through Dr. Judah Cohen put this up on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I'm sharing it with everybody. So this is the Siberian snow cover extent so far, and the red is the current year. And as Dr. Cohen points out, from first to last, parentheses, almost, Siberian snow cover extent is on quite a roller coaster. Snow cover started ahead of all recent years to begin the month, and then has now dropped to second least by mid-month. Okay, so you see how it takes that dip in right around the 15th. So we're now to the 17th. And it might be getting ready to make a little upswing. And he says, I still expect the pattern to become more favorable for snow advance to resume. Now, I did pull up some images here. This is a loop of 30-day loop of snow cover across North America and Asia. And you can see it's not really until the very end of September and October that you start to see the snow cover growth. And the yellow that's out there in the Arctic Ocean, that is the ice growth that is going on. Now, this image is a loop of the 30 days of North America, and you'll notice that it's pretty much confined way up in northern Canada. So you might have a little bit of sadness in your face for that. But then I went back and I said, let me look at what it was like a year ago, and it really wasn't that much different. Perhaps a little bit more in a few areas up in northern Canada, north of Lake Winnipeg. But on the whole, there's not a whole lot of difference here between the last frame and this particular frame. As this was Sunday, October 17th, 2021, and the last frame on this loop. Maybe there's a shade more, but it's not enough to come to look at it and say, oh my God, the snow cover is way below normal. It's probably around the same pace that it was. And you can go, by the way, if you want to take a look at these. I'll put the link up on the chat board in a few minutes. It's from the usicecenter.gov, and you can actually go into their archives and go back and look at some of this stuff with regards to snow cover growth. I would suspect that we'll probably see maybe a bit of an acceleration in the Siberian snow cover growth. And again, there's no magic bullet here. We've seen this indicator not work very well at all over the last several years or more. It was one of those things that I've joked about a few times here, where I've said that once everybody figured out that the Siberian snow cover indicator was working, because it did work pretty well for a long time, once everybody got on board with it, it stopped working. So that's usually the nature of the way things happen. Anyhow, here's our storm system in the east. Now, I've got the radar view here. Believe it or not, Joe, the 6C GFS still has it raining over New York City at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just saying. I don't know if it's going to be the case. And then, of course, we have this cyclonic flow with this low sitting over Lake Huron. And the air is colder. It's cyclonic cold. It's not really quality cold air. It's that cyclonic cold air, which is why you see snow and rain sort of mixed together. And you see tomorrow afternoon patches of snow there in West Virginia and western New York. And again tomorrow night into Wednesday as that arm starts to swing around. But the coastal plain is fine. If you X that out, most of the country is quiet weather-wise for this week. I mean, there's a minimal amount of precipitation for the work week. And then so we'll have our cold air into Thursday. Then it'll start to moderate a little bit on Thursday, but more so on Friday and into the weekend. Now some kind of system of some sort of comes out of the Northwest Caribbean, and a low forms well off the Florida coast and inches northward over the weekend. This is Sunday afternoon. I've been kind of trying to stay reasonably optimistic for Saturday and Sunday, Joe, but I think we just have to maybe keep a little side eye on this low moving northward. The models are trying to clip the coast maybe with rain later Sunday night or Monday. Uh, that could be overdone. I don't know whether there's some sense that this might be a little bit subtropical. Sort of has that look on the GFS that it might have a little subtropical look to it, but I'm not going to sit here on a Monday and try to figure that out a week from now. Meanwhile, out in the west, the dry weather gets broken by a fairly strong impulse that moves into the Pacific Northwest with rain and snow in the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies, and then that gradually translates eastward as another low goes through the lakes. The one thing I noticed, Mr. Rayo, and I without spending too much additional time on this, is that over the last couple of days, the models have been they went from not showing troughing in the east in the long range to showing troughing in the east in the long range, and now the last few runs have gone back to not showing a lot of troughing, maybe showing a little bit of troughing. I think one of the keys in the long range, and we're going to probably have to do this day by day, is to keep an eye on the Western Pacific in order to see whether there is any kind of typhoon formation, and if there is, whether they recurve east of Japan, because when they do that, that's when we can get these deep troughs in the eastern part of the U.S. So you get some stretches of model runs where there were 2 or 3 typhoons, then you get a bunch of model runs where there are no typhoons, or if they're out there, they're weak and they stay pretty far to the south. So I think the key to the long range is going to be monitoring to see if there are anything forms in the Pacific that can alter the pattern. If they don't form, then we may be in for a bit of a mild stretch as we go through the end of the month and the beginning of November. That's about as much as I'm going to say about the long range at this point.
I'm scratching my head over a post by Jimmy ZNNJ. Rayo predicts 100+ inches of snow in Central Park. When did I say 100 inches of snow? And I don't even think Central Park has ever had 100 inches of snow in a single season.
No, 76.
When did I say that, Jimmy? ZNJ?
Maybe
I don't remember. I don't recall even alluding to something like that.
Maybe Rayo's restaurant said that we're going to have 100 inches of.
I don't know.
Of snow or
Joe?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Joe?
Yeah, I'm here. Rayo, talk to me, Joseph.
Joe, I'm
here.
Joe suddenly sounds like he's underwater.
Does it? Do I? Do I sound like I seem to?
I don't know. Did any of you out there?
He's there. Robert Brown says Joe's there. Am I there? Can you all hear me? Can I sound like I'm underwater? Oh, Bobby Livingsworth said I sound fine.
Joe, it sounds like, and a lot of people.
All right, hang on.
Both of us sound fine. I don't know. It sounded to me for the last minute or so that you were underwater.
Testing 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
But now it sounds better.
Okay, I turned my headset off and on. Maybe.
Now you're back to underwater again.
Am I? Oh, good Lord. Oh. Testing 1 2 3. Let me try again. I didn't touch. Chuck Cardillo says we both sound good. Joseph?
Oh boy.
Okay, the chat board is saying that I sound okay, and you sound okay.
Well, I don't know. I'm having trouble understanding you. You sound good right now, so
okay.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I don't know what that was, but anyhow, so I think I have Briller Jeopardy. So why don't I take a look and see what gives here?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on a
Uh-oh, the
second.
executive producer. I hear the executive producer's coming downstairs. I don't know if she's coming after me or.
Hang on.
Robert Brown, this is beginning to sound like an Abbott and Costello routine.
Yes, it is. Oh, again, these things happen every once in a while. It's a Monday. You ready? Can you hear me okay?
I hear you okay.
All right.
Yes, I hear. Bye, dear.
Of the following 10 cities, the winter average snow is their winter average snowfall above or below the national average of 28 inches. The national average of snowfall is 28 inches. I'm not sure where they cut that off. Does that include Miami, where it's obviously zero? Does it include places where they get well over 100? It works out
the Cascades.
Okay, right. It works out to 28. So the answers here are above or below. So we'll do it with the chat board.
Barnes Corners.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so chat board, you're all set to go. Ready? The first city is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Above or below? Joe, you can read off the chat board who's saying what.
Right, Mark Teixeira, is that Mrs. Rayo? No, that's long gone. Let's see. At the moment, I don't, unless I'm running behind or something. Miss Spallerite, Kansas City is just about 28 inches. We're talking about Pittsburgh here.
Pittsburgh. Above or below?
Reggie Johnson says above. Steve LaPointe says above. Ken Musillo, above. Everybody seems to say above. Anthony,
except for
Daniel.
Debbie Carroll says below, and just about everybody else is saying above. Well, we will not let this mystery continue for any longer. The answer is for Pittsburgh, 44.1 inches is their average snowfall. They are above. Next, we have New York City Central Park. New York City Central Park.
Well, based upon the most recent 30-year averages, I believe Central Park receives something like 30.6 inches, which would be above that 28. In other years, in other decades of recent history, it would have been below that 28. But I think New York City now is above the 28-inch average.
And a lot of it looks like it's split. Half are saying below, half are saying above. I'm going to add my 2 cents on this. The 30-year average has gone from 20 to 25 to now 30. The long-term average is probably right around 29. So the answer for New York City Central Park is above. But one of the things with New York, and probably with a bunch of cities, you'll find this. You'll have most of the years, if you look climatologically, fall below that average. But when you get these gangbuster years of 45, 50, and 60 inches, their departures are so big that they skew the numbers upward. So that's kind of, in a way that's kind of, but definitely the trend in the Northeast, in most of the cities in the Northeast of the last 30 years has been an increase in the amount of snowfall. Cincinnati. Above or below, Joe?
I would. What was Pittsburgh was above?
Right.
I'll say Cincinnati's just really not too far away from Pittsburgh. I'll say above.
He says above. David Fuller says below. Johnny Sachs says below. Adam Lowe says below. Reggie Johnson says Cincinnati below. Johnny Quest says below. A lot of belows here. A couple of peppered with a few. Drino says above. And Steve LaPointe says above. Bill Fisher says below. James Davidson says above. And the chairman, Scott Briller, hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Scott. Most appreciated. And Mother Briller has COVID, so she tested positive. She tested positive, and you tested negative. So we'll keep you in our prayers and wish her a speedy recovery from everybody here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show and on the chat board.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
The answer to this question, by the way, Cincinnati is 23.3, so it's below.
Wow.
Kansas City.
I'll say below.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, here I come.
So next on the chat board, folks, we have Kansas City. And you say below. You say goodbye. I say hello.
Hello.
Brutus says below. William Huber says below. Josie says above. David Filler says below. Tyler Fega says below. Bobby Livingsworth says hello. Owen Daniels says hello. Debbie Carroll says hello. Johnny Sachs says above. Justin Vale says above. Christina Pedia says below. Anthony says below. Mark DeCara says. Mark DeCara sending good wishes to Scott and Scott's mom. Tyler, the board's running so fast. I'm trying to anticipate here. Tyler Fenga says maybe only a little below. Steve LaPointe above because of October snow. Michael McGuire says, I'm sorry, another good wish. They're kind of mixed up in here. My apologies for making the assumption that everybody's talking about snowfall, because we do wish the best to Scott and his mom. Okay, the answer to that one is Kansas City is 20.5 below. Okay, right. So there's 10 here on the list. What I'm going to do is I'll go through 5 of them, and then we'll do the 5 tomorrow night. So the last one for tonight. Now this one's a little tricky. Okay, this one may be a little tricky. Indianapolis, Joe.
Well, you know that in northern Indiana, they can get lake effect. In fact, I used to do a radio station in Rensselaer, Indiana, and they used to get a little lake effect up there. I would have to say, I'll say above.
You say above. Okay. Indianapolis, folks. Indianapolis. A lot of folks saying below. David Fuller says above, but Bobby Livingsworth says below. Owen Daniels says above. Adam Lowe says below. Bobby Livingsworth below. Debbie Carroll above. It's kind of a mix here. Is William at the Jersey Shore on the board? Because I'm sure he's furious. Like, he's furious with everything.
He's
accusing the commissioner. Yeah, okay.
He's bitching about the commissioner trying to get the Yankees eliminated with this needless delay. Needless delay. It's raining at Yankee Stadium. Somebody on the chat board earlier said that on TBS they showed a view of the field and it looks like a quagmire. Yeah, it is a needless delay, isn't it? And I told you before, William Jersey Shore, that it is the Yankees. It is not the baseball commissioner. It's not the umpires. It's the Yankees who hold in their hands whether or not the game will be played, or whether or not they would have to delay it, or whether or not they'll play it tomorrow. I can't believe he's saying this needless delay.
Joe, why are you throwing the truth and facts as if they're relevant? Seriously. I mean, come on. Well, the answer to Indianapolis is 25.6. So they're below, but not that far below. So it's kind of interesting. Because it's Indianapolis is kind of in a funny place, because they certainly can get brutally cold when those Arctic air masses come down. But on the other hand, they could also they're kind of in that funny spot where if a low tracks up the west side of the Appalachians, they could change over to rain relatively quickly. One of those places where, like we often lament, and you've seen it happen more than enough times, where you're sitting here in bitter cold air, then it warms up and rains, and you never see a flake or an ice pellet. It's kind of what happens sometimes in Indianapolis. By the way, we've had a few super chat hits tonight, Joe. I only saw Scott's. I don't know if you got to see anybody else's. I can only see his. I don't see anyone else's.
Had the chairman, and unfortunately, I'm rolling back as far as I can, and I don't see anyone else. Although I do concur that we did have a few people prior to that, but unfortunately, the chat board has rolled so far forward that only Scott's super chat is visible to both you and I.
Hey, William of Jersey Shore, how old are you? I'm just kind of curious. How old are you, and are you related to Reuben Fairchild? Just on the outside chance. Because if you are, I'd like to award you with the Reuben Fairchild Award for magnificence.
24.
Oh, okay. I figured you had to be. You know what? Lighten up just a little bit, Bill. Come on, lighten up. Have smile every once in a while and have some fun. Okay.
I was 24 once.
Yeah, we all were 24 once. Now there's like a little plus. Anyway,
my 24 goes back to the Carter administration.
I know. You're getting old, Joe, when you wash your hair and it looks. I really need to buzz my hair down. I just happened to look in the when I took a shower this morning, I washed my hair. I got out of the shower, I looked in the mirror of my hair, and it's like, my God, my hair's like really turned really gray lately. Like I'm losing the rest of what little brown hair I have left. Maybe I just have to leave my hair dirty for a longer period of time so it looks darker.
Jersey Shore, by the time Jersey Shore reaches our age, Joe.
Oh, we'll be dust.
Our respected ages, we'll be taking a dirt bath.
I know, we'll be dust.
Yes.
I could just picture. I just came to me, Joe. What if when you leave this earth, that the afterlife consists of you walking on a path toward the light, okay? And then as you get toward the light, you see that there is a gate at the light, okay? Right. And a blurry image starts to come into focus as you reach the gate. And it turns out to be Sister Charles Edwards. What are you going to do? With a stick.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I would just look at her.
Precisely, Robert.
I would just look at her and say, "And you made it up here?" And on that note, let us put an end to the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight. Thanks everybody for being here, and whoever hit super chat earlier, those of you who did, our apologies. I can't see who it is, as we always like to say thank you. So thank you, and we'll be back tomorrow night, 7:35 Eastern Time, 7:35, and Lou Alessi is 65 today. Happy birthday to Louis. And we'll see.
Happy birthday to you. Happy. And on a different note, to Scott, my mom had COVID as well, and she made it through, and I'm sure your mom will make it through with flying colors as well.
And my mom had it also. That's how I got it. I got it from her back when I went to see her a few months ago. Okay. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.